चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पश्यत्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming for the Bhagavad Gita class. And before I begin reading from the Bhagavad Gita, I'd just like to seek the blessings of all of you devotees here. I am not qualified to be sitting here and speaking, but because the devotees have asked me, I'll try to speak whatever I learned from all of my teachers. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from chapter 2, and we're going to be reading, I was asked to read both texts 61 and 62. But before that, I'd like to just do a brief summary so we can get the context of where we are in the Gita, for those of you who might have not been attending every day. So chapter 2 begins with Arjuna surrendering unto Lord Krishna. And why does Arjuna surrender unto Lord Krishna? Right, yeah, he was nervous. He was very confused and bewildered about, what his duty was, what he should do. And so then Krishna, they say that actually the cause of all confusion, the cause of all bewilderment that we face is due to ignorance, due to a lack of knowledge. And so then after Arjuna accepts Krishna as his spiritual guide and asks him to please help him, Krishna then begins giving him knowledge by which all of his illusion can be dissipated. And by this knowledge, Arjuna then is able to overcome all of his illusion, all of his bewilderment. And so then, Krishna begins giving him knowledge. And the first lesson of spiritual knowledge, of transcendental knowledge, is that we're not this body. We're actually a spirit soul. And that the soul is part and parcel of Krishna, part and parcel of God. And so Krishna then explains that as a spirit soul, as part and parcel of God, the duty of the soul is to engage in devotional service to Krishna, that will bring us the greatest happiness. And so Krishna, he explains the glories of devotional service and of one who follows the process of devotional service. And then in text 54, Arjuna, he asks Krishna a nice question. Arjuna says, "O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk?" So Arjuna is basically asking Krishna, how can we recognize such a person? How can we recognize a self-realized soul? Someone who's perfected their spiritual journey? Because, it can be difficult to tell just by looking at someone. We can't necessarily tell how advanced they are. And the scriptures are always teaching us the importance of associating with advanced devotees, of hearing from them, learning from them. And so Arjuna raises a very nice question here. How can we actually recognize who is advanced? And so, also in the world nowadays, there are so many people who pose themselves as gurus or sometimes even as God themselves without the qualification. So many people can be misled. So then Krishna, he explains who is actually a self-realized person. What are his symptoms? What are his behavior? What is his character? And so these are the verses we've been reading these days. How to recognize a pure devotee. So I'll read text 61, and we can do 62 together. It's on the board. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asitamatpara vashehi yasyandriyane tasya pragya pratishtita. Translation. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Report by Srila Prabhupada. That the highest conception of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and Durvasa Muni unnecessarily became angry at her pride, and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, although not as powerful a yogi as the sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sage's injustices, and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his senses because of the following qualifications, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, Texts 18 to 20. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor, vacham sivai kunda gunarnu varnane, kador harer mandira marjanadishu, shrutim chakara chuta satkato dhaye. Mukundalingalaya dharshane drisho, tadvritya gatra sparshanga sangamam, granam cha tatpada saroja saurabhe, Srimatulasya rasanam tadarpite, Pado harer kshetra padhanu sarpane, Shiro rishikesha padhabhivandhane, Kamam chadasyena tu kama kamyaya, yato tamashloka janashrayarati. King Ambarish fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotees, his nostrils in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, his legs in traveling to the holy places where his temple is situated, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. And all these qualifications made him fit to become a Madhpada, devotee of the Lord. The word Madhpada is most significant in this connection. How one can become Madhpada is described in the life of Maharaj Ambarish. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, a great scholar and acharya, in the line of Madhpada, remarks, Madbhakti prabhavena sarvendriya vijaya purvika svatma drishti sulabheti bhavaha. The senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. Also, the example of fire is sometimes given. As a blazing fire burns everything within a room, Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis who meditate on something other than Vishnu simply waste their time in a vain search after some phantasmagoria. We have to be Krishna conscious, devoted to the personality of Godhead. This is the aim of the real yoga. So now we can do text 62 together. I'll read the Sanskrit and you can please repeat. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa Sangasteshu prajayate Sangat sanjayate kama Kamat krodho bijayate. Would someone like to try reading the verse? Dhyayato vishayan pumsa Sangasteshu prajayate Sanjat sanjayate kaman Kamakrodho vijayate. Anyone else would like to try? Okay. So, word for word. Dhyayata, while contemplating. Vishayan, sense objects. Pumshaha, of a person. Sangha, attachment. Teshu, in the sense objects. Upajayate, develops. Sangat, from attachment. Sanjayate, develops. Kamaha, desire. Kamat, from desire. Krodha, anger. Abhijayate, becomes manifest. Translation. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. Purport. One who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects, and the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was in deep meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above-mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment and the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. Srila Prabhupada ki. So these verses are both very nice verses and very important verses because they're talking about, the first one talks about how one of the qualities of a pure devotee is that he has full control over his senses. Most people in this world are servants of their senses. They just follow whatever their senses say, they pursue that. But a pure devotee, it's very rare to find a person who has complete control over their senses. They're not controlled by them. And so this is one way that we can see someone who is spiritually advanced, that they have complete control over all of their senses. And then in text 62, Krishna explains the result of not restraining our senses. What happens? And so, why is it that in the first place we have such a strong desire for sense gratification? It's like as soon as our eyes see something beautiful, we're naturally drawn to that. As soon as we hear beautiful sound, beautiful music, our ears are drawn to it. As soon as we smell something that smells good, something delicious, we want to eat it. So why is it that we have this strong desire for sense gratification? And this brings us back to the first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna explains that we're the spirit soul. And because the spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna, it says that the nature of the spirit soul is anandamaya abhyasa, that the soul is constantly seeking ananda. The soul is constantly seeking pleasure, because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. It says Krishna's form is Satchid Ananda Vigraha. His form is made of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And because we as the spirit soul are part and parcel of Krishna, we also have this natural tendency to want to enjoy. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mamayavam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manashashrani andriyani prakriti stani karshati. He says that all living entities are my eternal fragmental parts. The example is given like a drop of water from the ocean. Now the chemical composition of a drop of water is exactly the same as the chemical composition of the ocean. The only difference is the quantity, the amount of water. And so in the same way, the soul is qualitatively equal to the Lord, but quantitatively we're very small. And so, because the Lord is the reservoir of all ananda, of all bliss, as spirit souls, we also have that inclination to pursue pleasure, to experience happiness. And so what is the problem with sense gratification? Why is Krishna saying here that it's we should control our senses, we should restrain our senses? A couple of days ago, I was having a mock debate with one of my friends, and she brought up the point that, I like Krishna. She was playing the role of a non-devotee. She was like, I like Krishna, and I accept God. But why do we have so many rules and regulations? Like we say in ISKCON that there's 4 rules you have to follow. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. And so she was like, why can't we just, why can't I just be a devotee, come to the temple, chant, and but why do I have to follow these rules? Isn't it okay that sometimes, we can just allow our senses indulge in sense gratification? What's the big deal? What's the problem with sense gratification? And so the first thing is that, seeking happiness through sense gratification is basically looking for the right thing in the wrong place. Because happiness is the nature of the soul. So that's the right thing to look for. As spirit souls, we all want happiness. But we're trying to look for it in the wrong place, which is sense gratification. And that's because anything material, it actually doesn't bring us happiness. We think that it will bring us happiness, but it doesn't bring us true happiness. It says that pursuing happiness through material desires will lead to 4 results. So the first option could be that when we're pursuing happiness through sense gratification, the first thing can be we might not get it. So it's I really want something for my sense gratification, but it might be that thing's not possible for us to get, or we just can't get it somehow. Then option 2 is we might actually get it, but then it doesn't satisfy us. It doesn't fulfill our expectations. It's we can see there's so much we order something from Amazon. It comes and we're no, this is not what I wanted. So that. Sometimes we actually get things, but then we realize, no, this is not what I wanted. Then third option can be that we get it, we are happy with it, we're this is what I wanted, I'm satisfied. But then the problem is it's temporary. So we get it, we're happy with it for some time, but then either it breaks, or it gets lost, or someone takes it away. And so then again, we're frustrated. And the fourth option is even if we get it, we're satisfied with it, and it can even last our entire life. But then it says that every material thing comes with duality. With every material thing we get, it also comes with side effects. It also brings different complexities into our life, different problems into our life. And so in this way, it's said that pursuing happiness through material objects always results in frustration. And so, that's the first reason why it's illogical, basically, to try to pursue happiness through sense gratification, because it's looking for the right thing in a place where it's impossible to get. But not just that, even more important reason is that it doesn't just not fulfill our need for happiness, but it actually takes us further away from it. Because, in this verse here, 62, it's saying that sense gratification, the desire for sense gratification, all begins from our mind. It begins with us contemplating sense objects. So it's like we see something nice, maybe in a shop window or in advertisements or anywhere, and then we start thinking, I want that. And then by contemplating that, gradually we develop attachment for it, that I really want this thing. And then from that attachment, it says lust develops. Lust is like the strong desire, like a hankering, that I really need this. Without this, like I can't be happy. It's like a strong determination. And then from lust, anger arises. Anger arises because it won't fulfill our desires. Like we just discussed, the 4 results of pursuing happiness through material things. It will result in frustration. And because of that, we become angry. And then the next verse, the cycle continues. It explains more and more how we become more and more degraded through trying to find happiness through sense gratification. And so, it said that actually the path of sense gratification and the spiritual path are opposites. You can't really pursue both at the same time because they're going in opposite directions. The path of sense gratification is all about selfishness. It's all about greed, about attachment. What can I get for myself? How can I be happy right now? It's all about attachment, about lust, about anger. And all of these things result in a very disturbed mind. A person who is constantly seeking sense gratification is always disturbed in their mind. They're always thinking, how can I overpower this person? How can I get whatever I want from this situation? And so in that way, their mind is never peaceful. And whereas the path of spiritual life is all about selflessness. It's about serving other people. It's about cultivating pure love. It's about sense and mind control and detachment. And so, these 2 things don't go together. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that to practice spiritual life, we first of all need a peaceful mind. And so, to have a peaceful mind, we need to be free from selfish desires for sense gratification. It said that, it's just like if you have a fire, and at the same time, you pour water and oil on the fire. It's like the oil is going to make the fire go stronger, but when you're pouring water on it, you're crushing the fire. So it's like pursuing both sense gratification and spiritual life is like that. They don't go together. Shri Shri Radha Gokula Nanda ki, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Goinitai ki jai. Yeah. And there's many, many examples of this in scriptures. There's also a verse in Bhagavad Gita, 2:44. Krishna says, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayaparita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhona vidiyate. He says that in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service unto the Supreme Lord does not take place. So here Krishna clearly explains that those people who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, they become bewildered by those things. And then they don't get the determination to render devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. So, so what is the solution? How can we actually control our senses? It's easy to just say, we should control our senses. And then in this verse also, it explains that the best way to control our senses is to stop it in the beginning. Because it says that the whole cycle begins with contemplating the sense objects. So we should try to stop it in the beginning when it's right in our mind. When we just see something, we should understand, is this helpful for my spiritual life, or is it taking me further away from what I actually want, from true happiness? And then be able to, if that desire is not helpful to our true happiness, we should be able to remove ourselves from that desire, to stop that desire, not to keep contemplating it. But then how do we actually do that? Because it's, you can say easily, but then to actually do it can be very, very difficult. And so, in the last line here of this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, one who is not therefore in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, but the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. Yeah, so Prabhupada explains that it's important that we don't try to artificially repress our senses, to artificially stop them. Because, like there's many practices. My friend was telling me that before she came to the temple, she practiced something called vipassana. And that's basically like they don't speak to anyone, they don't see anyone. It's like trying to control your senses. But it's a very artificial process because actually the soul is, like we discussed, it's seeking happiness, it seeks pleasure. And so to just try to stop our senses and restrain them from all sense gratification doesn't work because we can't keep it up for long. Like people who practice such practices, they might practice them for a few days or a few weeks or even a few months. But ultimately they're going to be like, no, I can't do this. How long can you not speak to someone? How long can you go on living eating diet food or something like that? It's like these things are not practical. We can't sustain them because it's going against our nature. And so, Krishna gives us the real solution in the Bhagavad Gita, that we don't just try to repress our senses and stop them from all sense gratification, but what we actually try to do is give our senses something even better than sense gratification, so that it's so much better that we no longer even want sense gratification. When we look at sense objects, we're just not even interested because we have something that's so much better, that's so much higher. And Bhagavad Gita 2:59, there's a nice verse. Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam rasa varjam rasopyasya param drishta nivartate. He says, though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So there's so many nice examples in our scriptures of devotees who have developed this higher taste and were therefore able to completely control their senses. They lost all interest in material sense gratification. One nice example is Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, he was a prince, and he was very desirous of sense gratification. He wanted a kingdom that was even greater than Lord Brahma. So he wanted a kingdom that was like the greatest kingdom in the entire universe. And he was very ambitious for that, he really wanted it. But then eventually he saw Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna appeared to him. And then Dhruva Maharaj, he says a very beautiful verse. He says, Stana bilashi tapasi stitoham tvam prapta vandeva munindra goyam kacham vichinvan apidirvya ratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayachat. Dhruva Maharaj says that I was performing severe types of penance and austerities because I was desirous of material wealth. He says, but now that I have gotten you, who are very difficult to achieve even by great sages and demigods, he says, I'm so satisfied. He says that I was looking for a piece of glass, a broken piece of glass, but instead I found the most valuable jewel. And he says, so I'm so satisfied, I don't wish to ask for you from you for any type of benediction. So this is the result of when someone has actually achieved this higher taste of Krishna consciousness, of love for God, that everything else just seems worthless. There's no more, there's no more value in it. Because actually, material things we can experience, they don't bring us any happiness. So what's the use of them? And spiritual things actually bring us the highest happiness, the highest fulfillment of our soul. And so that is what is truly valuable. And there's so many examples, like the lives of all of our acharyas also. These are more recent examples. Like here we have the Guru Parampara, all of them in their lives. We also have the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They're on the altar as well. And all of them, they were Yeah, they were like government officers. Many of them were born in very, very rich families. But when they developed this taste for devotional service, they were able to give up everything as just worthless. They didn't want it anymore. And like Raghunath Das Goswami, he was the son of one of the richest people in his time, but he met Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is an incarnation of Krishna. He's actually Krishna himself. And when he met Lord Chaitanya, he just wanted to join Lord Chaitanya and to engage in devotional service. And he lost all interest in his home and his wealth and his family. But his family was so attached to him that they didn't want to let him go. It says that Raghunath Das, he tried running away from home so many times to meet Lord Chaitanya, and his family would try to bring him back every time. And they tried to actually like tie him in his house so he wouldn't go to Lord Chaitanya. But Raghunath Das had developed this higher taste to such a degree that even though he had everything at home, his parents said that his wife was more beautiful than Indra's wife, more beautiful than goddesses of heaven. And the wealth that he had was like basically no one else in the world. He was the only son of one of the richest people. But yeah, his parents finally realized that if none of this can bind him, then must be that he has something so much better. So finally they allowed him to go to serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he spent the rest of his life there very, very happily engaged in serving Lord Chaitanya in all simplicity and all devotion. There's also a nice story I'll tell. It's the touchstone in Sanatana Goswami. So there was one man. He used to worship Lord Shiva to get material benedictions. But he was a very good devotee of Lord Shiva. He worshipped him very faithfully. And so one day Lord Shiva, he appeared in this man's dream. And he said that just nearby there's a great saint. His name is Sanatana Goswami. And you should go to him and ask him for the greatest benediction. So this man woke up and he was very happy. So immediately he went to see Sanatana Goswami. And he came there and he said that Lord Shiva told me that I should come to you and get the greatest benediction. So Sanatana Goswami, he could understand the man's intention, his level, what he actually wanted. So Sanatana Goswami, he went to the back of his hut where he kept the garbage. And in the garbage pile, he took one stone from the garbage pile and he gave it to this man. He said, this is a touchstone. Whatever you touch this stone with, that object will become pure gold. And so the man was very happy. He's like, now I'll become the richest man in the world. So he went back home, he started touching all the objects and they were turning into pure gold. And so he was really happy. But that night when he was about to go to sleep, he was thinking that when Sanatana Goswami went to get the stone, he went to the back and he went to where he keeps all of his rubbish. He went to the bin basically and took the stone from there. So he's thinking that this stone is so valuable, but it must have been, why was Sanatana Goswami keeping it in the rubbish? It's like, it must be that it was worthless to Sanatana Goswami. And Lord Shiva told me that I must get the greatest benediction from him. So it must be that he cheated me. He's not given me the greatest benediction. So then he went back to Sanatana Goswami the next day. And he told them that, I came to you for the greatest benediction, but you gave me the stone from the garbage. So how is it that you were keeping such a valuable stone in the garbage? It must be that you have something much, much more valuable than this. And Sanatana Goswami, he smiled. He said, yeah, that's true. Actually, the stone is completely worthless to me. That's why I kept it in the garbage. But I didn't know if you were actually ready to accept the greatest wealth, to accept the greatest benediction. But the man said, no, I want the highest benediction. So Sanatana Goswami said, okay, so you take the stone and you throw it in the river and then you come back to me and I'll give you the greatest treasure in this world. And so the man, he goes and he throws the stone in the river and he comes back. And then Sanatana Goswami says that, are you ready now to get the greatest treasure in all the world? The greatest treasure that is more valuable than all the money in the world, all the gold in the world. And so the man says, yes, I'm ready. And so Sanatana Goswami says, I'll teach you one mantra. And this mantra is very well known. We probably all know this mantra. But often we don't understand just how valuable this mantra is. People, they work so hard every day just to earn money. But if we actually understood that this one mantra is more valuable than all the wealth in the world, how much devotion we would chant this mantra with, how much we would value this mantra in our life. And so Sanatana Goswami, he gave this man the mantra. And so we can all chant together very loudly. Let's raise our hands. The mantra is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so this mantra is actually the greatest wealth in the world. I said that previously, even nowadays, sometimes gurus, they have their special mantras, and to be able to get the mantras, they ask their disciples to pay lots of money, then I'll give you the special mantra and you get some benefit. But Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, he appeared in this age of Kali Yuga, and he, with the purpose of spreading this mantra freely to everyone. Because the Lord is so compassionate that he's not considering, like other people, how to get profit, how to get something for myself. The Lord, he wants to give the highest thing to every person. And so the Lord personally descended as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give this mantra to everyone so that they can easily obtain the highest goal in life. And so we should never underestimate the value of this mantra. Although we hear it everywhere, everyone knows about it. But actually this mantra is the greatest wealth, and it's the most, the most valuable thing in all of the world. And so we should, take full advantage of chanting this mantra and performing devotional service, because this is what will actually give us true happiness. Money won't give us true happiness. Our material friends won't give us happiness. Any material object won't give us true happiness, because as we discussed, all material things result in frustration. They might satisfy us for a little bit of time, but ultimately they're all temporary. And so the only true happiness that we can actually get, that will actually satisfy our soul in the deepest way, is through devotional service, through serving God. And the process recommended for this age is by chanting his holy name. And the most powerful of all mantras, of all methods to chant the Lord's name, is this Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness, of Bhakti Yoga, to serve Krishna and to constantly chant. Lord Chaitanya recommends Kirtaniya Sadahari. He says we should constantly chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Even while we're walking, we can always chant this mantra in our mind. We can always remember. And so in this way, we will attain the greatest happiness, even in this life. And at the end of this life also, we'll go back to Krishna and be completely happy there with Krishna. Krishna. Okay, so if anyone has any reflections, any comments, any questions, anything you'd like to say, we have a few minutes before Aarti. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that's pranayama. Mm. Mm. Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, pranayama is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna also talks about the process of yoga, how to control our senses, how to control our mind, and these things can be helpful. Like I know there are a few devotees who like practice yoga, who will practice pranayama for a little bit, and they say that it helps them better than concentrate on chanting japa, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So if you find it helpful for you, you can do it. But then we wouldn't practice something like the yogic process, like Ashtanga yoga or something like that, because that is not the process for the age, and that is actually impractical. So I would say that we can practice these things in as much as they help us in our practice of bhakti yoga. If we find that by practicing some yoga, by practicing some breathing exercises, that helps us chant better, that helps us perform our bhakti yoga better, then we can do that to assist our bhakti yoga. But independently without bhakti yoga, these things will not give us the proper result. Does that help? Okay, thank you. Prabhu, you had a question? Okay, maybe let's do one by one. So the first question was, in this verse, is the objects themselves are not the problem, it's contemplating them, right? That's the problem. Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, the objects themselves, you can't blame the objects, right? The objects just exist. I think it's our desire to enjoy those things. Because it says that actually everything in creation is the Lord's creation. And so the proper use for everything is in the service of the Lord. But when we look at those things with lust, with the desire for our personal enjoyment, that's where it's not correct, because actually they belong to the Lord. And so we should use everything for the Lord's service, not for our sense enjoyment. So I would say, yeah, that desire, that lusty desire that we have in looking at sense objects, desiring them for our own pleasure when they should actually be given to the Lord for His pleasure, is where the danger is. Because otherwise a devotee can actually use all of these objects in the Lord's service, and then that becomes devotional service. So yeah, it's not the objects that are the problem, it's when we look at them for our sense enjoyment. Yeah. So that will also depend. We have to see what our level is. There are devotees who can deal with so much money, can deal with so many material things, but not have any desire for sense gratification, not have any personal desire for them. They just use them in the service of the Lord. So I know, yeah, many exalted devotees who deal with so much money, who have so many followers and deal so much with the material world, but they're completely detached from those things. In their personal life, they live very simply, very austerely, and it doesn't bother them because they have that high level. But then I think that we have to assess ourselves personally. If there's things that when we have them, it distracts us and it's actually very difficult for us to focus, we should avoid those things. Like generally it's recommended not to keep too much money, and not to have too many objects of sense gratification.